I think you're really going to like today's video because we're going to do some torture testing and put my old awning through some extreme tests and figure out just how strong this HH-66 vinyl cement is compared to the factory vinyl weld on this Solera awning from Lippert. So what I've got here are two samples that I cut off of the old awning that we just replaced here on my Pinnacle, and I've got them mounted to the sawhorses here. So let me flip up. This is kind of that front flap, that valance on the awning, and then you can see here the PVC leader strip. So I did not modify or alter this whatsoever. I just made some cuts, some sections here to make it a little bit easier for the testing. And then I've screwed down that leader strip carefully to the sawhorses here, and notice the screws are not touching the vinyl material in any way, so they're just holding down this leader strip, which is simulating just like they would be mounted into the roller tube there. So this is the one that I repaired previously with the HH-66 several months back, and you can kind of see the edge is not completely straight here where I sealed it up because when I folded it over I didn't quite get it perfect. So this is that section here that I repaired previously. And then over here we've got the same story, except I cut this off of the opposite side, the side that I had not repaired, that had not failed yet. And so this is the factory vinyl weld. And you can see how nice and straight it is along that seam there, but I've got it mounted the same way, just simulating as if it was inserted into one of those roller tubes. But check this out, before we do the testing, I just want to point out some differences in the contact of the vinyl awning material to the leader strip underneath, and this is what secures it to the roller tube. So you can see the cord right there that goes in the roller tube, and then the leader strip. Check out just how much of that leader strip is left exposed here that is not bonded or attached to the vinyl in any way. So I mean, if you look closely, it's just that little section there, only about maybe an 1/8 inch to a quarter at the most, that is welded that vinyl to the leader strip there. Compare that, I'll put some B-roll footage up, compare that to the new awning that we replaced, and the whole leader strip is covered and bonded or welded to the vinyl awning. So that's kind of one difference I wanted to point out. And notice over here on the repaired section that I did several months back with the HH-66, if we flip it up, you can see that when I repaired this, I intentionally ran that cement all the way across that leader strip. So it has a much wider bonding surface, really resembling more closely to the new replacement awning that we just put on. Okay, so with that being said, here are the parameters for the experiment today. I'm going to stand behind each one of these sawhorses because remember, this flap is the valance that'd be hanging over your campsite, and so then your RV would be back here where it would attach to the RV. So I'm going to stand back there resembling where it would attach to the RV, and I'm going to be pulling on this section of the awning in this direction with pre-calibrated levels of force. So I'm going to start at 10 pounds of force and pull it out. Then I'm going to do 20 pounds, then 30 pounds until we see how far they get before they fail. Now, I just calibrated myself this morning, and so we should be good on that front. But all jokes aside, I realize what I'm about to do is not entirely scientific, a little bit subjective because it's what I perceive as the force I'm exerting as I pull each one of these. But it's really the best that I can do, and I'm just really curious to see how well they hold up, especially this one that I repaired with the HH-66. So first contestant is the original vinyl weld from Lippert on the Solera awning, and I've got my helpers holding the sawhorses. So we're going to start out with 10 pounds of force. Here we go. 10, 20 pounds of force, 30 pounds of force, 40 pounds. It feels very solid. 50 pounds of force, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. Let's keep going. 110, 120, 130, starting to fail a little bit, 140, 150, oh, it's going, 160, 170, 180. Okay, there we go. So 180 pounds on that one, and you can see it sheared off. I was really surprised just how strong, even though that little vinyl weld was really thin, how strong and how well it held up. And contestant number 2, so this is the section from the old awning repaired with the HH-66, and I'm going to place this over here so it doesn't fall. We're going to do the same thing, all right? So starting out with 10 pounds of force, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, it's starting to fail, 100, 110, 120, 130, 140, 150, wow, 160, 170, there you go. So that one sheared off very similar to the other one, but wow, I mean, I'm really impressed for, you know, cement and repairing something like that. That held up really strong, and this entire section was repaired previously with this HH-66, meaning none of that was the original factory weld right there. Well, that was really impressive. I did not expect either of them to last that long. In fact, I would say after I got to level 100, I was probably exerting about the same amount of force just repeatedly over and over. But let me give you some close-ups so you can see where each one of them failed. So this is, again, the original vinyl weld from Solera. And notice it didn't actually fail at the vinyl weld. Literally, the vinyl fabric tore and split off. So what you're seeing here is the remnants of the vinyl that was attached and welded to this leader strip here. So that's really interesting. And notice the valance and the awning portion just ripped right off of there. But the actual vinyl weld, I mean, it held up. You can see the remnants of it there, even though it was really thin. And then let's hop over here to the section repaired with the HH-66. This is really interesting. This one, I did not think it would last that long, but check this out. It failed in a different fashion. It still tore across the vinyl, but it left the valance. And then all that material is still adhered to that leader strip. In fact, I was pulling so hard, you can see it started pulling the screws out of the wood. But I mean, check this out. You can see here, the valance here is on the front. And then check this out, there's still the material bonded to that leader strip. That material is still there. I mean, that is really impressive. I thought surely that the repaired section over here with the HH-66 would fail sooner, but I mean, that is really impressive. Both of them essentially passed. It was the material, the vinyl, that ended up tearing. Now that brings us to an interesting question, and that is, why then did my old awning fail prematurely? Because as we just saw, this was a sample off of my old awning, the original vinyl weld on it, and it seemed to hold up just fine. I mean, I promise I have not subjected my old awning to any, hurricane force winds or anything extreme like that. So why then did it fail so prematurely compared to what we just saw, where this seemed to hold up, just fine? And I think what's going on is I've got another section, a sample of my old awning over here with the original vinyl weld. And I think what's going on is the weak point are the ends. And so imagine that it starts to fail on the end of the awning. And I'll just show you an example here. If you pull on this, and you can see that vinyl weld there, how thin it is. If you start pulling on that, it doesn't take a whole lot of force. And once it starts to fail, see how I've gotten it pulled? Then it doesn't take much force. I mean, I'm barely pulling on it at this point, and now you can see it's all coming undone. So it's very strong laterally, when you're pulling in this direction between the RV and the roller tube, but it's not so strong on the ends, and that's where it begins to fail, and that's where it failed on mine. You can see, I mean, I'm barely pulling on it, and I mean, it's just coming completely undone. You can see there on that vinyl weld. And in fact, I'm kind of curious. I'm going to go over here to the section that I repaired with the HH-66, and I'm going to try doing that same thing I just did. So I'm going to go on the end here and see if I can peel it up. Well, wow, it's actually stronger. So I mean, this is weakened obviously from all the pulling, but it's actually tearing on the awning material, and what is left behind here is still adhered. So I mean, this is actually pretty strong. Wow, I would say this is definitely stronger than the vinyl weld. I mean, it could be due to the surface area, because I did that full width of the leader strip, but I mean, I'm really impressed. This is way stronger than I thought it would be. So I mean, I think we can conclude in the end that if you don't want to replace your entire awning fabric and it's just torn a little bit like in my case, this actually is a really nice product. I mean, it really does what it says it does, and it really holds up in the end. Well, let me offer some final thoughts, seeing everything firsthand. I think the first thing we can conclude is that the edges of the awning are the most vulnerable sections as far as tearing off with that vinyl weld. I mean, the weld seems very strong laterally, but on the ends, once it gets going, you know, and it's compromised, it just keeps tearing off with really not too much force. So I think if I was the manufacturer, what I would do is, in addition to that vinyl weld, which seems to be pretty strong, is I would come back with a physical stitch, and maybe only about 1 or 2 inches on either end of the awning to secure that vinyl fabric to the leader strip, and just to have a little bit of extra to catch those ends from starting to tear off. So I think that's what I would do. But either way, I gotta say, I was really impressed with how this repaired section with the HH-66 held up. I mean, I really think this could deliver some promising results long term. And so if you're not able to replace your entire awning, I think this is a great alternative. I want to say again, a special shout out to Lippert for sending me that replacement awning. I think the service they delivered was really model and exemplary. So thank you again for Lippert for sending that to me. And I hope this video was helpful. If it was, give me a thumbs up. And as always, thanks for watching.